guys, how's it going? This is Caroline Offenstein here.
And Rachel Gregory.
What's up? We thought it would be fun to get back together and talk about a Q&A or commonly asked questions that come up around the holidays because believe it or not, even though everyone feels like they're in their own bubble, we all have a lot of the same struggles. So we polled you guys on Instagram and we're going to tackle some of those frequently asked questions.
Yeah, I'm excited. All right, well, why don't we just get started? We're gonna kind of go back and forth. So I'll start and I'll ask you the first question, and you can give your feedback. I'll give my feedback, and then we'll just kind of go with
Let's
the
do it.
flow.
Yeah.
All right. So the first question was, how would you go about sticking to your diet through the holidays?
Yeah, so I have been there. I was actually dieting all through Christmas last year because I was prepping for a competition in February. So I've been there. Dieting through Christmas and New Year's is difficult. Um, Honestly, my biggest piece of advice would be try to periodize your year so that you can
Yeah.
take a diet break or you have a maintenance phase or a gaining phase through the holidays. But for some people, like where I was last year, that's not an option. You just got to do what you got to do. So if that is where you're at, I would probably recommend, talk with your coach or talk with anyone you're working with about adding in refeed days, right? That would be one strategy. Like, if you are dieting down, maybe it is a good chance to add in like 2-3 days of high carb, high calorie refeed days, or even taking a full diet break, like maybe the week of Christmas, right? So that's definitely an option. The other thing I would recommend would be focusing on protein and veggies at all of your meals. Sometimes that is literally all you can do, right? This goes with like vacationing, holidays for sure. Sometimes you don't have that much control. At least try to get some protein and some different kinds of veggies on your plate, right? And focus on all those basic habits like sleep, stress, everything else you can control. Um, and thirdly, I would say plan your hard workout days around any time where your calories might be high. So if you're like, Christmas might just be a shit show and it's going to happen, don't sweat it. Don't make yourself feel guilty about it afterwards. Just plan like a really hard leg day for the day after. Or maybe you add in a little HIIT workout or something like that, not as a form of punishment or anything like that, but just because you've got the extra calories. So you might as well put them to use and feel really awesome during your workout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with all that. And especially like just I was going to say the exact same thing in terms of like periodization. I think that's one of the
Yeah.
biggest thing. And I've made that mistake too. And not necessarily a mistake. Like if you're prepping for a show, obviously like you plan that and that's something that you committed to, but there's been
Yeah.
times like in the past where, I've dieted through the holidays or, when I went through that period of time where I didn't know anything about periodization, I was dieting every other month. That's probably not a good idea, like going into the holidays, trying to restrict and be in a deficit. Obviously there's times where you have to do that, but periodizing it, so really you're just, like you said, going through the seasons and kind of, obviously most people live, well, not most people, well, I would say most people, and especially in America, live in like climates where it gets colder during the holiday season. So like even like I live in San Diego, but even when I lived in Florida, like it still got colder in November, December. Not many people were out like on a boat in their bathing suit. So if you don't, have to be in a bikini or, be in a bathing suit, like who cares if you have a little bit of an extra fluff on you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of, it's like that, like you said, dieting or, periodizing your nutrition and your training for the seasons just kind of makes sense. So that would be for sure. I would agree with that. And then just in terms of planning ahead, like you said, going into the holidays, whether it's like obviously Thanksgiving and Christmas are kind of
Mm-hmm.
the two big ones that are back to back within a few weeks of a period. But going into like, for example, Thanksgiving week, kind of periodizing your week and utilizing some strategies can be very helpful. Like calorie cycling. I know we have a question, which maybe we'll even skip to this question as the next one because it kind of goes with this, but just using different strategies to cycle your calories throughout the week. So for example, Thanksgiving's always on a Thursday, right? So if you know that you want to enjoy Thanksgiving and consume a little bit more calories, you can just maybe pull a little bit back in the beginning of the week or incorporate some types of different fasting strategies. With that too, I would also say I'm a big fan of doing that first versus trying to do it afterwards, because like you said, there can be some guilt that comes along with, okay, Thanksgiving, I crushed a bunch of food. I woke up on Friday feeling like crap and I want to, restrict again, right? So rather than kind of looking at it in a restrictive way, you actually can, plan in advance, and maybe the Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday before Thanksgiving, maybe you just dial your calories back a little bit. And it doesn't have to be super extreme. It could be like, whatever you're at right now, maybe you pull like 250 calories Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's an extra 750 calories. Is that right? 250 times 3?
Yeah.
I was like, wait, math.
Nice work.
That's an extra 750 calories that you could have, for on Thanksgiving Day, or split it up between Thanksgiving Day and maybe leftovers on Friday, because who doesn't love leftovers on Friday after Thanksgiving? So that's a strategy, and it's doing it before the fact versus after the fact, so that you've got that out of the way and you go into the day saying, all right, like I plan for this. I plan to splurge a little bit, but also staying within, my goals, right, for the week. So that would probably be
Yeah.
like my biggest tip for like utilizing calorie cycling and doing it in a very strategic way. And
That's
obviously,
almost how I set up refeeds sometimes, is like, oh, it's your birthday this week even, or something like that, but you really have this diet goal coming up.
mhm,
Let's plan ahead. Let's cut lower, but we'll plan in some of those high calorie days. Yeah,
mhm.
exactly like you said, being proactive always pays off, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um,
Cool. So, do you want to start with the next one? Or, oh, do
yeah,
you want to skip down to that cycling one
yeah. Why don't
since
we
we're
go
kind of
into
talking
that
about that?
one? Yeah. Do you want to ask that question and I can start, because I think that was from one of my followers. So yeah, let's go into
Yeah.
that one.
So, question is, even if I'm just trying to maintain right now, do you recommend cycling calories? Like a 5-2 split, or adding one PSMF day per week to help balance things out?
Yeah, so this is kind of what we were just talking about before. There's so many different ways to go about calorie cycling. So just if the listeners, or if you're viewing this, if you don't know what a 5-2 split is, that's kind of like Caroline, you just said, having refeed days, but kind of setting it up. So, 5 days during the week, maybe Monday through Friday, you're in a deficit, and then 2 days per week, you have 2 refeed days, or you're basically just having a little bit less calories during the week, and then a little bit more calories on the weekend, which typically lines up with a lot of people's lifestyle. Like a lot of people are,
Yep.
like you're just Monday through Friday, you're kind of in work mode, grind mode. You're not really thinking too much about, well, not everybody's thinking too much about food. You're kind of just in your routine, right? And so you have things planned out. It's very easy, and you're busy usually, right? So it's very easy to, not very easy, but it's easier to potentially consume a little bit less during the week when you're busy and you're in your routine, versus on the weekends. I feel like that's the time when a lot of people struggle to kind of stay within their goals. So it's just, again, being proactive and setting your week up so you are successful, and you have maybe, you know 300 extra calories, or whatever, however many it is on the weekend, and then you have a little bit less during the week. So that would be like a 5-2 split. um, Again, you can do this so many different ways. You could do a 6-1 split. You could do like so many different types of calorie cycling. The other type, or one other type, is a PSMF day. So the person who asked this, I'm assuming they probably followed me for a while on my platform, because I've talked a bunch about PSMF days in the past. I've used them when I use them personally for myself, and with a lot of my clients who are a little bit more advanced when we are in a fat loss phase. So basically, PSMF just stands for protein sparing modified fast. That's like the acronym for it. I don't know exactly who kind of came up with it. I believe Lyle McDonald was the one who kind of popularized it. That's a hard word to say. But basically, the way that, and people kind of define it in different ways, but the way that I use PSMF days, it's basically just a day where you're focused on hitting your protein goal, which is typically around 1 gram per pound of body weight, depending where you are, usually around like 0.8 to 1.2, depending on obviously the individual. So hitting your protein goal, and then basically just filling in the rest of your calories till you hit about 1,000 calories. So it's 1,000 calorie day. Could be around between 800 and 1,000, depending on like where you're at with your personal intake. So basically hitting your protein goal and then filling the rest in with fat and carbs, really just focusing more so on getting a lot of lean protein in, and then just really low calorie, non-starchy veggies to just kind of fill up your belly. And that the reason for just having like a PSMF day within your week is you are able to, it's just like calorie cycling. You're able to basically just cut out a chunk of calories in one day. So this person asked, even if I'm just trying to maintain and they're not in a calorie deficit, say like their maintenance intake is, I don't know, 1,900 calories, right, per day. If you did a PSMF day, say, and we can use Thanksgiving, or let's use Christmas as an example. Say Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, you want to kind of splurge a little bit on both those days, right? I believe they're Friday and Saturday this year.
I think so. Yeah.
Which, yeah,
Score.
yeah, right. So let's say, you wanted to utilize a PSMF day and you place that day, again, proactively. I would probably do it beforehand versus waiting until like Sunday. So maybe you had a PSMF day on Monday or Tuesday, which would mean you're consuming, just 1,000 calories that day, really focused on hitting your protein goal. And then you have like, and if your maintenance is 1,800 calories, that gives you an extra 800 calories to push to Christmas Eve and Christmas dinner, right? So that's just, again, it's just another calorie cycling tool. And it really just utilizes a type of fasting. And it kind of says in the name, like protein sparing. So you're really just focused on getting that lean protein in. And we know protein is the most satiating nutrient. So it kind of helps with mitigating a little bit of hunger that comes with, that low calorie intake. And typically, just last point on this, typically how I usually kind of recommend a PSMF day, it depends on the person, but trying to pretty much fast in the morning to push as many of your calories off has been mostly like the most successful way that I've seen it done with myself and with clients. But then other people I've had a few clients who like to kind of front load the day. So they'll stop eating around 5 o'clock and they'll put their 1,000 calories in the beginning of the day. Really just depends on you. But yeah, that's what a PSMF day is in kind of simple terms. So I would say, to answer this question, and then Caroline, obviously give any feedback. They said, even if I'm just trying to maintain right now, do you recommend cycling calories? I would say if you're the type of person who knows that or if you're the type of person who has done this in the past and you know that you can successfully cycle calories without feeling like you're going through kind of like this binge restrict cycle, because that's one thing that can get a little bit iffy with these things, is if you are someone who has a history of restricting and then binging, restricting and binging, probably not the best idea. But if you are in a place where you know that you can successfully do this, then I would say, why not push more calories towards the days where you know for sure you're probably going to be eating a little bit more, not, tracking, maybe not tracking at all, and just giving yourself a little bit more wiggle room with that. So I just rambled on.
No, that was good. That was a really good answer. I love how, you attacked all kind of the science behind it. And I would say one thing to think about too, which kind of you finished on, if it's going to help you adhere overall to a nutrition protocol that is helping you maintain, that you feel good on, go for it, right? And then the other side of that would be, I guess we should all remember that you can't gain 4 pounds of fat overnight or anything like that, right? So like for me, I'm kind of like maintaining, heading into a gaining phase. I'm not personally going to try to like cycle calories or anything around the holidays, because I know I have a long gaining season ahead of me. So for me, I'm just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to kind of put away my MyFitnessPal and enjoy the food for the day. And I know my scale weight will be up the couple days after Christmas, but I know that that's just going to be from eating different foods, more food volume in my belly, probably some more water retention from sodium, things like that. So that's kind of the other part to think about. If you don't have anything crazy going on in the future, you also really don't have to overthink it either. Unless, like you said, you've done it in the past and you feel best cycling calories, then yes, do it if it helps you adhere. But otherwise, don't overthink it or try to like over strategize,
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree with that too. I think it really just depends, like like where you're coming from, you as an individual, your history of, experience with these different methods. And
Exactly.
yeah, I would say too, like, don't overthink it, and also don't, you know, realize that it is, especially with just Christmas coming up, it's like Christmas Eve and Christmas, it's 2 days out of the entire year, and like
Yep,
Thanksgiving was one day. Like, it's not, if you're gonna overeat a little bit, like, you're gonna be fine. It's,
exactly.
yeah, so I agree with that. Sweet. All right, so I will ask the next question. Okay, someone said, what are the best ways to squeeze in a workout on a busy holiday? Great
This
question.
is a good one. And I know, like, I hosted Thanksgiving. If you're hosting a holiday, which even though like we're all very small group right now, it's still a lot of work to even have, like, I had my immediate family over and that was it. And I was still like super stressed out. And I had originally planned to do a leg day that day, which I go ham on my leg days. It would have taken me at least an hour. Instead, I just did like a quick full body circuit style workout. And that's kind of what I would recommend. If you know you're going to be short on time, if you know it might be a crazy day, if you're probably working out at home or with limited equipment, like this is when a full body circuit can come in handy. This is when a quick, 20 to 30-minute HIIT workout can come in handy. There are so many resources online right now for these type of workouts because it is this time of year and pandemic. So yeah, I'm sure you can find something online that's quick to still help you move. And then also, like, just walk throughout the day, go for a family walk after you eat. That can really help with digestion. It can help you feel a little bit less like stuffed, can help get you back in the groove of like, I'm not just going to be totally lazy all day. I'm still going to move my body in some way that feels good.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I was gonna say the walking thing is a huge one. Um,
Hmm.
just and just starting the day with a walk can be very
That too, for
beneficial,
sure.
because I feel like you get like further into the day and just like, okay, well, I'm already like a few drinks in and just kind of hanging out. And it gets, obviously, if you're living in a place where it's usually a little bit darker earlier at this time of year, and if you're somewhere that's cold, it's like, I don't really want to go out for a walk later in the day. So I would say, get it done, get it out of the way, go for like a 30-minute walk, make it like a family affair.
Mhm.
That is just going to make you feel so much better going into the day. And like you said, if you are hosting, that in itself is going to get you into like kind of a relaxed state, just knowing that you got a nice walk in. It wasn't like, you weren't pressured, or you didn't feel pressured to get like a super, intense workout in. So that would be my recommendation. If you do have the time and you do have, access to like gym equipment, or if your gym is still open, plan to get an early workout in. Obviously early, because again, you're not going to want to
Right.
do that later on in the day. So kind of just like getting it in, getting it out of the way. Or like you said, doing like a quick full body circuit. I actually posted on my website for Thanksgiving. I have like a bunch of like free living room workouts, so I can post that link. I forgot what the link was, but I can send it to you or post it wherever this video goes or
Yeah, we'll give you
podcast
some
goes.
ideas in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
notes.
in the show notes. Yeah. So yeah, that would be an idea, just getting in like a quick 15-minute like living room or backyard workout. If you don't have any equipment, you can still do a lot of things with just your body weight.
Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, I would, like, everything that you said, definitely agree with. And I think it's like, don't stress it too, right? Again, it's just one day. Like, it's one or
Yep.
2 days or even whatever, 4 days in a period of time. Like, that's not the end of the world. I think you should do whatever makes your day less stressful, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a holiday. Like, you want to just chill and like enjoy yourself. Um, for me, like, for example, on Thanksgiving, I just went for a really long walk in the morning because I was traveling. I was away from my normal like routine. I didn't have a gym. So I just went on like a long walk and I felt great. Like I ended up getting like 13,000 steps in before like noon. And I was like, well, this is cool.
You're set. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think there's a lot of, like a lot of people think like, oh, you're just walking, like that's not going to do much, but it really does. Like that, like you are, if we're looking at it, which we probably shouldn't talk, like, I don't like talking about like burning calories, but if you're looking at it from that perspective, like getting in a long walk, you are burning a good amount of calories. Like you are setting yourself up to, have a successful eating day, if that's what you want to call it. So
Yeah. No, my last contest prep, the only cardio I did was walking and hiking.
yeah, there you go.
So it definitely does make a difference. Yes.
For sure.
Sweet. All right. Next question. How do you deal with eating foods prepared by other family members when staying at their house? So like if someone else is cooking the meal, what do you do?
This is a really good question. So I think first of all, we actually have to like kind of set the scene with also like, okay, where are you coming from? Like going back to the first question, like where are you at right now with your goals? Like, are you in a dieting phase where you're prepping for something specific, like a photo shoot or a competition or whatever it is? Like if you're in a phase like that, then obviously you're going to have to sacrifice a little bit more. And that might mean, okay, maybe bringing some of your own food or planning to prepare some of your own food. That's probably going to be the best route because obviously you're going to have control over that. And I would just kind of look at it, and I've done this before too, like with, I'm definitely known in my family to be the person who always like has their own like food bag.
Yep.
Yeah, like with snacks and I always like and I've just this just has become habit for me no matter what type of phase I'm in, just bringing like my own snack bag with things that I know for sure can keep me full and satisfied. If I do want to, say I want to kind of snack throughout the day on some veggies, like I'll always have like some snap peas or cherry tomatoes or little like things like that, that's very low calorie snacks, and then maybe like some protein and stuff like that. I'll always have that on hand, even if I know that I'm probably not going to use it. So that's one thing, like just come prepared, like bring your own little cooler, and don't be ashamed of it. Like who cares, right? You have your goals, you have like your routine. So I would say that would be one thing, especially, actually no matter what kind of phase you're in, if you feel more comfortable and that's going to make you feel better, just bring a cooler pack. Then the kind of other flip side would be, if you can't control what's going into the food, if you're at a family or friend's house and they're preparing the food and you are okay with just, not tracking that day and just enjoying yourself, I would say just kind of pick the foods that you know for sure are the foods that you know will like satisfy you, and those are the ones that you want to consume. Don't just kind of eat the food because it's there. Really kind of think through, okay, this food, like I want to eat this, like this is delicious to me and I've been looking forward to something like this, versus, oh, like I kind of like this but it's not my favorite, so it's okay to kind of pass on that. So that's kind of the two ways that I would look at it. How about you?
Yeah, those are great tips of advice. I mean, I know even when I go over to my parents' house, they just like expect me to bring a small cooler because even though like most of my family eats pretty healthy, I'm like, if I'm feeling like I want to be really dialed in, that's what I do.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But some other ideas that I've talked to some of my clients about who are a little nervous about traveling for the holidays somewhere else is offer to do some grocery shopping, right? Like offer, if you're at like your in-laws or something for a long weekend, offer to be like, hey, I'll do some of the grocery shopping. What can I get? And then get yourself a couple things that you can cook on the side, or get extra chicken breast or something
Yeah.
like that. And which kind of goes into my other tip, which would be offer to help with cooking too. So that can be huge. Like bring or cook your own side dish and be like, well, hey, let me be in charge of the salad. That way you at least know you can load up on some veggies. Or like, what if I cook the main meat or whatever? And then, because some people go like absolutely nuts on cooking oils and sauces and crazy stuff like that. So if you're able to do some of the cooking, you can maybe have a little bit of quality control if that makes you feel better. So those are two things that I think help a lot, offer to do some grocery shopping, offer to help with the cooking, but exactly like what you said, Rachel, I mean, if you're not in a place where you have to be really strict, then just let it go. Because it's
Mhm.
anytime you're tracking food prepared by somebody else, it will not be 100% accurate. It just will not be. So you do have to let go a little bit, especially this time of year, especially if your relatives or someone is cooking. And there's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And then also utilizing some of the other things we just talked about too, like calorie cycling. If that's something that you want to utilize, you can't
Mm-hmm.
really control what's going on, then maybe you pull a little bit back in the beginning of the week and go into it with, just knowing that you have kind of an extra budget, or is that, yeah, budget. I'm like,
Yeah.
is that the word? Yes, it's budget. Like you're budgeting your food, you're budgeting your
Yeah.
calories throughout the week. Sorry, long day. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing. And then also just like I said, like don't be afraid to bring your own, and don't be afraid to also ask ahead of time, because I feel like most people who are hosting a holiday dinner pretty much will have some type of plan, at least, a week ahead, a few days ahead of what they're going to be cooking. So if you can ask like, hey, just curious, like what's the plan for the menu? I kind of want to, see if I can bring something that lines up with it. And then, like going into it, you're like, okay, this is what the menu is. So am I okay with this? Or do I want to kind of pack some of my own things? And I think that's totally fine. So.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think we should go skip down again because that other question kind of goes along with this one
Oh
about
yeah.
talking
Okay.
to.
Which, oh yeah, yeah. Okay. Who asked the last one? I don't remember.
I don't know. I could ask it.
Okay.
You could start it. How do you deal with family and friends commenting on your nutrition choices and or pushing you to just have a bite? It's the holidays.
This is a great question.
This is so good.
Right? And I think it's something that so many people deal with, especially, if you are, you know, if if someone knows that you're like dieting or whatever, and this has happened to me multiple times, I'm sure it's happened to you, like, it's the holidays, like you should enjoy yourself, just have like a bite of the pie or whatever. And it can be really stressful. Like it can feel like it's peer pressure, right? Like you can just like get stressed out just from that, or even just knowing like you're going into a situation where like your uncle always says something, or like on or whatever. It can be stressful. So usually kind of the top things that I would say is just, first of all, just say, like, if someone's like, oh, it's the holidays, why don't you just have like a bite of this like pie or something? First thing I would say is like, yeah, like I'm pretty full. Like if I didn't want to have it and I didn't want to make a big deal, I'll be like, I'm pretty full right now. Maybe I'll have like a piece later on. I kind of want to, like, I'm just stuffed from dinner or something like that. That's an easy way to kind of just like deflect without making a big deal. Another thing you could just say is, like that food doesn't settle well with me. Like if it's something like that has, and you can like make this up, like it doesn't have to be true. Like you can lie. Who cares? Like if it's a food that has maybe like a pie that has like dairy in it or something, you're like, dairy kind of upsets my stomach, so I'm going to stay away from that. Even if it doesn't, like just say that. Who cares? It's something to kind of just get them off your back. That would be another strategy. Just if you don't want to have kind of that like interaction, you kind of want to just like stop it where it's at. And you don't want to deal with that. Or you can just say like, hey, like, I don't want to eat this. Like, this is just like, you could just go full on and just be like, I have goals right now and this doesn't fit within my goals. So I'm not gonna, like give into that. And that's just my choice and my decision. Um, that's,
Yeah.
that's kind of the three ways that I would go about it.
Yeah, I like that. And it's totally, like what you're comfortable with, who you're talking to, how you're comfortable responding to that person. But unfortunately, I feel like when people usually say this stuff, it comes from a place of them being a little insecure, like usually it's not, nobody's going to say that to you who's also like really into nutrition and fitness, because they'll just be like, I got you, like keep up the solid work,
Yeah.
It's usually people who are a little bit envious of you and like the willpower, if you will, like I should say that in air quotes, willpower that you have, or like the tenacity that you have going after a specific goal. So try to remember that it's usually not them being like, I'm trying to ruin your goals. It's usually them being from a place of insecurity. So don't let it like turn into a big thing. Like I really liked your deflecting ideas. Like just squash it right away if you want to, or be straight up and be like, hey, look, I actually would love your support. I'm really going after this thing right now. Tell them all about it. Like tell them about your goals, whether it's like a fat loss goal or performance or whatever it is. Maybe talk their ear off and they'll go away too.
Yeah.
But and then another tip would be like, try to take the focus off food. Like obviously we talked a lot about food in the holidays on this episode today, but there are so many other awesome things about the holidays, right? Like hopefully everyone's still spending Christmas and New Year's with a couple close friends or family members. You can still like play games. You can still get outside. Remember that there are so many other wonderful things to do around the holidays and about the holidays that aren't food focused. So you can always try to like shift gears, like let's play a game or whatever, that might help too.
Yeah, I love it. Completely agree. And I think too, like it's one of those things also that just be confident in your decision, right? Like go into it with confidence and just say like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm sticking to no matter what anybody says. And just be kind of proud of that, right? Like don't let what anybody says like pressure you into doing something that you don't want to do. Cause honestly, like who cares what they think? Like even if it is your mom or uncle, like who cares? Like they're doing their thing, you're doing your thing. And what's going to make you feel better the next day, right? Sticking to what you plan to do or giving in to someone else's peer pressure when it doesn't even really matter, right? So that's kind of like, again, kind of just like looking at it from a different perspective and looking more so at like, okay, how am I going to feel tomorrow versus how do I feel right now in this moment? I think is a big thing too.
Yeah, you got to take care of your mindset first and foremost. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, I think we have two more questions.
This might
Or
be the last one.
one more question? Yeah. Okay, I'll ask it. I think you asked the last one.
Go for it.
Okay, what would it be beneficial to just track calories over the holidays instead of worrying about tracking fats, carbs, and protein?
I would say you certainly can just track calories if that's going to make things easier for you and that's, as dialed in as you want to be. There's nothing wrong with that. But typically when I have a client who wants like flexibility within their macros a little bit more, we'll shoot for calories and protein. Kind of like we talked about earlier with the protein sparing modified fast. So like there's a reason we want to keep protein high. It's going to help keep us satiated. It's very hard for the body to store as fat. It's going to help us preserve muscle, all those good things. If you try to just track calories, I know personally, if I just tracked calories, I would probably like hit half my protein goal if I wasn't paying attention. High carb, high fat foods are highly palatable, very easy to overeat. So if you want to go that route, I would say track calories and protein, let carbs and fats fall where they may, and you're going to be just fine.
It's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think it's super beneficial to track protein and calories just because it allows you to have a little bit more control as well. If you do choose to track it all, if you're going to track calories, you might as well track protein and calories.
Yeah.
And that's too, just kind of, again, it kind of sets you up for more success for your day too. Like if we're talking about a holiday specifically or like a holiday week, if you can focus on like hitting your protein goal, that's also going to make you feel more full and satiated throughout the day. So you'll be much less likely to overeat in that sense, because protein is the most satiating nutrient, keeps us full, especially if you're focused on like lean protein. So if you kind of plan your day out, plan your protein out throughout your day first, and then like you said, just kind of fill the rest in with carbs and fats and not be too worried about that, then I think that's probably the best route to go. But yeah, that's what I would say, the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Track protein and calories.
What's your strategies for the holidays, Rachel?
I mean, all of the things.
All the above.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I guess we're going into Christmas now. But for Thanksgiving, like I said, I was away at a family friend's house. And I was actually at a family friend's house who, and this is something too, like, I didn't mention this, but I was going to say something about this before. So obviously, like a lot of people who follow me are in like the low carb world, and they've, either they're following a ketogenic lifestyle or followed a low carb keto lifestyle in the past. That's where I was for a few years. Like I was very strict keto. And it was a struggle during the holidays because like someone had that question. I would literally always get like, that's not keto. Like, why are you eating that? Or that's not that. And it's just like so annoying. So it hasn't been like that for a while because I've been kind of away from the strict keto for about 2 years now. But if you are someone who is following a specific diet protocol and you're not, and people know about that and they comment on it, just be like, if you're choosing to have something else, it's not their business. Like you're choosing to have that for you and that's your choice. So for me, like this year with Thanksgiving, I was at a family friend's house and they are like, it was in Florida, like northern Florida, but it was like super southern cooking, like all like
Oh
mac and
boy.
cheese, yeah, homemade rolls, mac and cheese, like all this stuff. And I went into it knowing that I was gonna splurge, right? And I was totally okay with that. And I did, right? I splurged and I enjoyed every second of it. But I also like set myself up for success that day. Like I said, like I knew we had a main meal at like 4:00. So I fasted pretty much just in the morning, just because I'm not usually that hungry in the morning. And I got my walk in, and then I just focused on, having some protein and veggies. Like you said, I went grocery shopping. I offered to go grocery shopping and I stocked up on some like frozen veggies, that just microwave veggies. So I had that. And then I had like a pound of deli meat, like deli turkey. And then I think I got a rotisserie chicken too. So I was just like set to go with
Nice.
protein and veggies. And it was like lower calorie, higher protein, higher volume veggies. And then I just went into the meal with a good amount of calories, and I just enjoyed it and didn't feel guilty afterwards. And it was awesome.
Yeah, that's
So
totally what I like to do too. Yeah, is like set up the day before, make sure you have a plan heading in, and like on the holiday too, like we talked about earlier, I like to pick a couple of things that I want to indulge in.
mm-hmm.
You really don't have to have everything that's available. Like I like to pick the things that I really want to try or that I really want to fill my plate with, and then really enjoy those. Like
Yeah.
actually use all my senses. Like eat slowly, eat mindfully, because we do only get some of these fun foods like once or twice a year. So that's a big part too. And then for me, I'm big on like structuring my workouts in a way that's going to
Mm-hmm.
help too. So like I mentioned, I did, a quick full body circuit workout the morning of Thanksgiving. I went on a big hike the day after. So that helps me a lot too. It's just like making sure I feel like I'm really putting those calories to use. I'm like getting a good pump in my workout after, maybe getting some extra cardio, because usually you have awesome energy
Yeah.
after a day of eating like that. So
Yeah.
take advantage, make yourself feel good moving around.
Yeah, for sure. And then one other thing I didn't mention, and this is something too, I recorded a podcast for like different tips for holidays, which we went into a bunch of them here
Oh yeah,
too, but
yeah.
I can link that in the show notes or whatever. I also have it as a blog post, but there's one strategy that I used over Thanksgiving that I usually use like over the holidays is like the one plate rule for each course. So usually if you're at like a big Thanksgiving or big, Christmas dinner, there's tons of different food available. And at least for my family, like with appetizers, usually there's things that are just out for hours. Like you're
Like
just
all
kind of,
day. There's just like
yeah,
always food available.
yeah. And you're just kind of like hovering around like the counter and for
Yeah.
like the appetizers and then the main meal. So I like always tell myself, okay, I'm going to get one medium-sized plate for appetizers and just fill up the plate and enjoy that and just kind of have my own plate rather than just like picking at things all the time, because that just can be a disaster. And then same for dinner, like just get a big plate and fill it up and don't go back for seconds. Cause usually if you have a pretty good sized plate and you fill it up, you're not gonna you're gonna have enough food there. And then same with dessert. Usually dessert, there's like all different types of desserts. So instead of like, and usually like at least for me, like I tend to like all different types of desserts. So I want to try them
Yep.
all. So
Yep.
I'll like take a little piece of each and just fill up my small dessert plate with that. And then that's it. So it's like the one plate rule per course can be really helpful if you, one, don't want to be like tracking too much, but you also want to be like controlling your portions. And then also just like not feeling completely like overly full after going back for seconds or thirds,
Yeah.
right? Or,
Well, and that totally helps you slow down. And that
yeah.
like allows your brain to actually realize like, oh, hey, you're actually full. If you're just like eating, 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 you're never giving your gut that chance to like tell your brain, we're good. We're
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
even
those are
just,
awesome. We'll definitely have
yeah.
to link those tips.
Yeah, and I even like this Thanksgiving there was because there's something too like you kind of like you're like, oh man, like I need to eat dessert right after the meal, like if you're
Yeah.
with a bunch of people and the
Yeah.
dessert's put out on the table, you're like, it's gonna be gone, like everybody's gonna take the dessert. And like even myself, I was like, crap, like I want to try these different things, so I better go get dessert now. But what I did is I just made myself a little plate and then I put it in the refrigerator for like three
Oh, that's a
hours
good idea.
later. Yeah, because like I knew I didn't want to, like I was stuffed by that the end of the one plate, and I was just like, I don't like, I want to enjoy this dessert, so I want to save it for like, because we ate at like 4, I want to save it for later, so I just like made my own plate and just put it in the fridge, covered it up, and put my name on it, and then
Nice.
I enjoyed it later. So
Awesome.
yeah, there's so many different things you can do. It's just like kind of being aware and
Exactly. It's a lot about just being aware, preparing ahead of time, and everyone's going to have a fabulous holiday, I'm sure.
yeah, awesome. This was fun. I think, did we cover them all?
I
Yeah.
think we got them all. Yeah. Thank you guys for all the amazing questions. And hopefully, this helps everyone realize like we're all in the same boat.
Hmm.
Everyone has very similar struggles with or like pressures on them about nutrition and kind of fitness this time of year. So you're not in it alone. Reach out for help whenever you need it.
Yeah, for sure. And maybe we'll do another Q&A like in the new year and chat about some other
We
things
talk
that we
about
can.
our bulking phases.
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
For sure. Yeah, that'll be fun. And then also with the new year, obviously, whenever it hits January, it's like everybody's in, okay, resolution, diet mode. Like, maybe that's not the best thing to start
I'll
off
I'll
with.
still be gaining.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe we can have like another podcast um about that, and maybe not like diving right into a fat loss phase in January and kind of thinking like, okay, there's still 6 months till the summer. Do I want to be in a diet phase right now, or do I want to spend a few more months building some muscle, and then when it gets closer to the summer and when I want to be in a bikini, then maybe I'll go on like a 12 or 16 week cut
Yeah,
and actually plan it out so it hits summertime. Because
for real.
I feel like people just like don't think about that, and they get to, you go on a diet for whatever, even if it is 12 weeks, January, February, March, by the time you get to the end of March, it's like still not summertime. Where do you go from there? So I guess you can maintain, but
That's a really good point. And if everyone
yeah,
follows all these tips, they'll be feeling really good come January 1st.
exactly. Exactly. Awesome. All right. Well, I think that's all we got.
Yeah, thank you guys. See ya.
All right. Talk to you soon.